If you ever feel out of control around food, you're not alone, and you're in the right place to learn practical, no-nonsense information about why you binge and how to stop. Binge eating does not mean that something is wrong with you. It's a natural but primitive brain response that you can correct. If you're ready for change, sign up for the Brain Over Binge self-paced online course for less than $20 per month. And if you feel you need personalized support, we also offer one-on-one coaching and group coaching. To learn more, go to brainoverbinge.com/subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Brain Over Binge podcast, where you learn a simple, brain-based approach to ending binge eating. I'm Kathryn Hansen, your host, and I want to welcome you to the show today. I'm super excited about this episode and the next one as well, because over these next two shows, we're going to talk about getting your life back after you stop binge eating, and just how amazing that is. If you listen to the show regularly, you know that I'm a rather practical and straightforward person, and not necessarily a cheerleader for the amazing life that you're going to live after recovery. In fact, it's been more common for me to remind you that ending binge eating does not mean that your life will be perfect or that your eating or your weight will be what you want them to be. I think it's so important to remember that having an amazing life or solving your other problems is not a prerequisite for stopping binge eating. You don't need to have great relationships or accomplish career goals or be happy in order to become and stay binge-free. Thinking that you need to get everything right in your life in order to recover can make you more susceptible to binge eating when things go wrong. And the goal is to stay binge-free no matter what. So even as you listen to this show, which will be full of hope and will help you look forward to a binge-free future, I still want you to know that you can avoid binge eating even if you fail at your other goals. In fact, you can make no progress toward a goal and still not binge. You can not even know what your goals are and still not binge. But that's going to be the last sort of negative thing I'm going to say about your life after recovery, because for the rest of this episode and the next, you'll hear about the benefits and the opportunities and the positive experiences that await you when you let go of binging. If you know my approach, you know that one component of what I teach is to get excited about avoiding binges and also to get excited about recovery itself. So that's really what we're going to help you with. We're going to help you see why you should definitely be very excited about making recovery happen in your life. And I'm saying we because to help me have this conversation, I have a guest on the show who can also attest to how truly amazing it is not to be consumed by urges to binge and not to feel the shame and pain of having this habit in your life. My guest is Julie Mann, and if you've received my newsletter or if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that she is the new Brain Over Binge coach. She's currently coaching recovering binge eaters on a one-to-one basis, which you can learn more about in the show description. And she'll also be leading a summer support group with me for people who are using the Brain Over Binge approach and need more help. We'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. I wanted to have Julie here so that you can get to know her, and also because I think that she adds so much to this conversation. And part of that is because she's newer to recovery than I am, and she feels like the benefits are more fresh in her mind and are really affecting her life in a very profound way. I've been recovered for 16 years, and over time it's just become so normal to me to be binge-free that I don't stop often enough to think about those benefits, like I used to in the early days and weeks and months and even years after I stopped binge eating. I'm so happy for you all to meet Julie and hear what she has to say, because she's so amazing and inspiring. So welcome to the show, Julie.
Hi, Kathryn. I'm so honored and happy to be here.
Yeah, that was a little long introduction on my part, but I'm so glad to have you on the show. And I'm looking forward to you sharing your own story and for us to talk about how your life, and really both of our lives, have opened up in so many ways after recovery. Julie and I are going to address the benefits of recovery in 4 areas of life. Now, there are many more parts of your life where you will see incredible changes and positive results, but we're going to focus on these 4 major areas, which are time, mind and body, that's combined into one, and this relates primarily to mental clarity and physical energy. The next one is relationships, and the last one will be money or finances. We're going to talk about the first two topics in this episode. So that's time and mind and body. And then in the next episode, which I will release 1 week from the time this show is released, we'll talk about relationships and money. As we go through these 4 topics, you'll definitely learn more about Julie and her story. But Julie, just to give listeners a little background before we start this conversation, can you just briefly tell the audience how long you struggled with food and what your journey to a full recovery looked like?
Yeah, sure, Kathryn. So despite being a thin child, I went on my first diet at the age of 11 when my mom decided I was getting fat because I was in puberty and my body was changing. From that point on, I was either good or bad, depending on my weight and what I ate. After that, food and body issues were part of my life until very recently. So for almost 40 years, I basically lived in this self-made prison, joining every program, trying every diet out there, and things actually just seemed to get worse and worse. The more I tried, the more it backfired, the more extreme my strategies became. In 2013, my husband died unexpectedly of a rare and aggressive cancer. And at that point, I dove headfirst into truly extreme eating disorders, including anorexia, bulimia, and the most pervasive problem for me was binge eating disorder, which plagued me for a long time. This is when I found your book and reached out to you and began my long and messy road to true recovery. But unlike you, Kathryn, I didn't read a book and have an insight and almost immediately free myself. It took me years of finding my way to this point of true freedom. There were so many moments where I was sure I was broken and that my situation was just too difficult to unravel. And yet, there was always this part of me that kept going. I knew I could never give up because my life depended on it. And it was all worth it because it's taught me so much and given me the ability to help others in ways that I know will provide true freedom.
That's amazing, Julie. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know the listeners will also appreciate you kind of reminding them that recovery happens on a different timeline for different people. And your story and mine, I think, are true examples of that. It's really awesome to have you on the podcast today because I can remember times years ago when you would reach out to me in this state of frustration because you just couldn't seem to get over this. But like you said, you never gave up. And it's very special to me personally for you to be here and to be fully recovered and able to live your life free of this. I hope the listeners will be encouraged that no matter how long they've struggled, there's always hope and there's always help. So let's get to talking about why we love recovery. The first thing we're going to talk about is time. This is huge because eating disorders really take over so much of your life and seem to drain you of your time. And to get that time back is really such a gift. Why don't you go first and talk about how recovery has opened up so much more of your time and what you're doing with that extra time?
Yeah, I'm so glad we're starting with time. I can't stress this enough. Time is a finite resource and we can never get it back. This is an area where I've truly had to forgive myself. Binge eating disorder, dieting, food and body obsession is what I think of as a life thief. I lost the majority of 40 years of my life and so much of my daughter's life that I can never get back. It's really unfathomable when I think about this. It makes me think of a line from a Mary Oliver poem that I love. Are you breathing just a little and calling it a life? Ironically, in the haze of the struggle to the outside world, I seem to be a highly functional human. I had a thriving teaching career, a marriage, a child. I got things done. But I was living at 2% because 98% of my life and my brain was occupied with food and food issues. How much I had eaten or not eaten, cleaning up the physical and emotional mess from binges, figuring out new strategies for recovering, over-exercising to compensate, recovering from injuries, missing work because I was too sick to teach, dealing with relapses, being in group programs, individual programs, no programs, listening to podcasts, reading books, learning new tools, and on and on. All the while, I was canceling vacations and trips and missing my daughter's life events because I was so afraid I'd binge. And then I'd binge more because I felt so badly about the choices I was making. I am so delighted to say that recovery has given me back time in ways I couldn't have imagined. Now none of my brain is being used up by this, and time feels almost infinite. I have 3 jobs right now, a new relationship, and my daughter and I have quality time together every day. And I have time for daily self-care, reading, time in my local park, taking on a whole new career. I feel completely present and grounded, and my daughter and I are closer than ever because I'm truly able to be with her in body and mind. And to everyone listening who can relate to the years lost to this, I want to add that it's never too late to heal, and that on the other side, you're going to see that all that matters is now. So not to overquote Mary Oliver, but now I spend my days asking myself her poignant question. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
I love that question. And I love how now you can pour your time into what matters to you. With the eating disorder, it feels like, at least to me, it felt like I was being forced or compelled to spend time in a way that I knew was harming me, but I couldn't seem to stop. And I think it feels necessary to follow those drives from your brain and follow those impulses and those harmful choices because of the way your brain is wired when you're caught up in these habits. I mean, for me, the binge eating and the overexercising took away so much time. And it was during a time in my life when I was young, and I felt like I was missing out on so many of the things that my friends were doing, and I was just missing out on what could have been some of the best years of my life. I remember in the weeks and months after recovery, just feeling so thankful that I could do what I wanted with each day. Well, of course, after I stopped binge eating, I still had to go to work and I still had responsibilities, but I actually felt like I had some free time for the first time in years, and I reveled in that. I was so thankful that I was not stuck in bed, feeling absolutely sick from a binge, or that I wasn't stuck spending hours at the gym to try to compensate for all of that extra food. Even if in my free time, I ultimately decided to do something really uninteresting and not exciting, like doing the laundry or cleaning the house, I could even do that and still feel so free and not consumed with food thoughts or constant self-loathing about what I'd eaten or how much weight I'd gained. So it's not that I suddenly started taking amazing vacations or doing all of these meaningful things with my days, but I finally felt like there was some space for me to choose my activities and fit in my responsibilities and just decide how to spend my time. Now, you mentioned your daughter, and I'll also say that further into my recovery, the extra time that I had did allow me to consider the idea of having children. I never really considered it as an option for me before recovery because I just couldn't see myself having the time to care for someone else when the eating disorder and trying to recover from it was all I could seem to manage. I eventually went on to have 4 amazing children, which has really filled up my time, and I just know that they likely would not be here today if it weren't for me ending the eating disorder and getting that time back that I later was able to pour into caring for them. I also would not have had the time to write a book, but then again, I also don't think I would have had a topic to write about either if it weren't for my recovery. I love the work that I do now, and I love that I can find the time to do this work even while caring for my family. Now, I do want to say the way you spend your time after recovery does not always have to be productive or involve helping someone else. You'll have more time for you, just to relax and enjoy yourself and the people around you and experience new things. We all have the same 24 hours in all of our days, and it's simply not possible to do the things that you need to do or want to do in those 24 hours with the eating disorder wasting so many of those precious moments. The next topic we're going to move on to talk about is mind and body. Because not only do you get your time back, you'll also have the mental space and the physical energy to use that time in ways that make sense to you and in ways that move your life forward. If you have an eating disorder, it can almost feel like your mind and body are trapped because your thoughts are unhealthy and your body feels like it's not operating like you would want it to because of the damage that you're doing with the binging. Julie, how has recovery improved your mind and body in terms of your mental clarity and your physical energy? And I want to clarify here that in talking about the benefits to your body, we're not focusing on weight. And Julie is going to talk about that more.
Kathryn, this is such an important topic. In fact, it's part of what drove my recovery. I learned early on that I had to take weight out of the equation if I wanted to truly recover. I made a daily practice of noticing, savoring, and writing down how my life was better in ways that had nothing to do with my weight. For everyone listening, I cannot state this more emphatically. The amazing thing about recovery is that you can have these benefits immediately, as in tonight, from not binging. I saw that I could immediately be in my integrity, which is a core value for me, and I would savor the feeling of keeping my promises to myself. I could immediately notice that I'd sleep better, have more energy in the morning. I'd be in a better mood and more playful with my daughter in the morning, and we'd laugh as we got ready for school instead of me walking around like I had a hangover, yelling at her to hurry up, trying to find something I could wear that would hang loosely over my very bloated belly. Speaking of which, my digestion improved immediately. I was hungry for my meals. I had so much clarity and my creativity increased. I also had more focus at work, teaching all day. I could laugh and enjoy my students while also managing all the paperwork that comes with having 187 students to grade. Another benefit was that I could enjoy movement. My joints stopped aching because I wasn't experiencing all the inflammation that comes with binging. And my mood truly stabilized once I wasn't experiencing all the neurochemical shifts that come from binging and restricting. I also learned what foods I loved that loved me back and how to eat in ways that left me feeling truly nourished and sated. I call this the Julie formula, and I like to teach my clients how to find their own formula.
That's great. I really love how you found your own way to care for yourself and nourish yourself, and that you help your clients do the same. I'll add a little to this topic of mind and body in terms of my own life, and I think it again relates back to being a parent, because being a parent is really intense as far as physical energy and the mental clarity that's needed, especially when they're young. There have been times over the years, like for example, when my oldest was 6 and my youngest was a newborn, and I had 2 more kids in the middle, when I just kind of stepped back and told myself there's no way I could do this if I still struggled with food. Now, I'm far from being a perfect mother, but I will definitely always be grateful that I've had the physical energy and the mental focus to give to them. Now, I do want to say here that I believe that parents always seem to find a way because of how much we love our kids. And if you have an eating disorder and you're a parent or caregiver, I know that you somehow find the energy inside of yourself to be an amazing parent. And Julie is a great example of that with her daughter. But it is so much less exhausting when you don't have the eating disorder getting in the way. So I just want you to imagine how much better it will be when you recover and therefore don't always have to dig so deep for the extra energy and for the mental focus. I want you to imagine how much more you'll enjoy your life when your brain space is not constantly taken up with urges to binge and other food thoughts, or calorie calculations, or the self-critical thoughts that you have after binges. It's so much more enjoyable to live in a body that does not feel like your enemy. And like Julie said, it's not about your weight, but there's so much freedom in being at peace with your body. So that wraps up our conversation about the first 2 topics, and I hope you'll join us next week when we discuss relationships and money. Everyone takes a different path to recovery, but we hope that talking about these benefits will inspire you not to delay recovery any longer. You absolutely can be free of this, and you deserve to get your life back. Before we end the show today, we want to tell you about a summer support group that we're offering that we're really excited to start on June 7th. If you're someone who resonates with the approach that I share on this podcast, but you need some extra support to let go of the binge eating habit, we want to invite you to join us for 12 weeks of group coaching. We know that we can help you in any area where you're feeling stuck and guide you to create the changes you want. We're excited to be there for you, to support you, and answer your questions as you stop binge eating and transform your relationship with food. The group's going to include weekly Zoom calls for live coaching. There will be 12 total calls, 6 with Julie and 6 with me. You'll also receive a call recording of each call, and the calls will be about an hour, and you can always go back to this recording to listen to it again whenever you need to. There will be a forum for written support from other members and your coaches. Included in the summer support group, you'll also receive no expiration access to the Brain Over Binge online course. Registration is open now, and you can go to the show description and find a link to learn more and to sign up, or you can go to brainoverbinge.com/group. Julie, can you tell people a little more about this opportunity that we're offering?
Kathryn, I cannot wait for us to offer this program. I know it's the kind of support I needed when I was trying to recover, and I can't wait to provide it to anyone out there ready for true transformation and true freedom. I know from my own experience that having a coach will change your life. It has changed my life, and it's given me freedom I didn't know was possible. I've had a coach since 2013, and I will continue to have coaching for the rest of my life. It's that important. Just like I do things for my personal hygiene, coaching for me is my brain hygiene, and it's a non-negotiable part of my life now. What's more, I see my clients as already free. I know it's absolutely possible for them, and I believe in their recovery even when they may not be there yet. So I tell them they can borrow my belief in them because I always think about them in the future as if they are already that person now. So during group coaching calls with me, I will support the members with the kind of support I give to my one-to-one clients. I'll help them learn to expect and allow urges. They will see how their thinking is the only thing in their way, making space for new actions and new results. What is so powerful is that a shift in thinking can change your entire life. And I'll be there celebrating with them for every step of the way. And the beauty of group coaching is that we all get to learn from each other's questions, and we see that we aren't alone. Eating disorders love to hide, and healing happens in community. As you get to see that we all share this common struggle and that no one is broken or incapable of recovery at any age, at any stage of the journey, the shadow lifts. Having thought deeply about the different components of our group program, I know it's the kind of support I truly needed and couldn't find when I was in the throes of my struggle. Between access to your incredible course, Kathryn, 12 weeks of live coaching calls, and the forum, members will have all the tools they need to step into freedom.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I appreciate you sharing that. We're definitely ready to help you wherever you are on your journey. I want to thank everyone who's here listening today. We hope that you'll consider joining us this summer. And again, you can go to brainoverbinge.com/group to learn more. And we also look forward to part 2 of this conversation next week. As always, I want to encourage you and remind you that you have the power to change your brain and live a binge-free life. The Brain Over Binge podcast is produced and recorded by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC. All work is copyrighted by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC, and all rights are reserved. As a disclaimer, the hosts of the Brain Over Binge podcast are not professional counselors or licensed healthcare providers, and this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice or any form of professional therapy. Eating disorders can have serious health consequences, and you are strongly advised to seek medical attention for matters relating to your health. Please get help when you need it, and good luck on your journey. Need more help? You can find all of our current and upcoming options for support at brainoverbinge.com.